If you're new to intermittent fasting, or maybe you're just not getting the results that you were hoping for, in this video I'm going to share the 5 most common mistakes that people make that restrict their ability to get the results that they want. So remember that you don't want to use advice just because all the cool kids are doing it. You want to use advice that's going to work for you and your unique body chemistry. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
Since most people are using intermittent fasting in hopes of losing weight and dropping the fat on their body, it's important to understand that for the body to be willing to let go of stored fat, it really needs to feel good about what's going on. It can't be in a stressed state and feeling like, man, we're going into a famine and what happened to all the food type of situation. So you really want things to be going well for the body so it's willing to let go of this stored fat. When things aren't going well, not only is the body not willing to let go of stored fat, it will store more things as fat. It views that stored fat as money in the bank. It's a security blanket for the body. So we need to make the body feel good about what's going on so that it's willing to let go of this stored fat. Now, before we get into these 5 mistakes, it's important to understand that every one of these mistakes, someone has been able to do these mistakes and still see great results with intermittent fasting. So the confusion sets in because a lot of people are taking advice from these chiseled, high, elite athletes that their body is operating very optimally. But the problem is most people don't have their body running optimally. Most people are not working with NASA equipment. They're not running this elite machine. Most people are kind of showing up with like a 76 Gremlin. So when we're listening to people that have their body running optimally and they're telling us what's working for them, then we get really disappointed when it doesn't work for us. So these mistakes I'm going to talk about in this video are mistakes that are going to restrict the ability for most people to see great results. And the real confusion can set in because we all process foods differently. So the steps that could work great for even your neighbor might not have an elite athlete body, but they may work great for her. They might not work for you if your body's operating in a different manner. So the number one biggest mistake that I see from clients is what I call junk food fasting. There's a lot of fasting gurus out there that'll tell you, oh, you can eat whatever you want as long as it's in your eating window. So you can have a Pop-Tart and a bag of donuts as long as you don't eat for a long period of time. So this is a big pile of fiction for most people. Most people in this situation are going to put this sugar and junk in their body. It's going to spike insulin and blood sugar levels, and it's going to move the body out of a fat burning mode. So when you spike insulin really high, the blood sugar can get burned up pretty quickly, but insulin is going to stay high a lot longer. And as long as insulin levels are high, that removes the body's ability to access stored fat for fuel. So now you remove the ability to burn stored fat, which was probably your goal, but you've also removed the body's backup fuel source. So when you stop putting fuel into the body for this long window of time, your fasting window, now the body can't access its backup fuel source and it's going to be very stressed. And when that happens, it's going to raise these stress hormones that tell the body to, oh, go ahead and store more stuff as fat. And we're going to do things like break down tissue and turn that into glucose so that we can use that for fuel. So it's really not creating the benefit that the person is looking for. And they think that, oh, it's just going to be magic. I can eat whatever I want as long as I go this long period of time without eating. But they just don't see the results that they're looking for. Of course you're not going to see the results you want when you're not setting up the body to allow it to burn stored fat for fuel during this window of time that you're not bringing fuel in. And the same problem could occur even if a person was eating what they thought was a healthy diet because they're eating too many carbohydrates or sugars. Anything that's going to spike that blood sugar and bring insulin way up is going to create a similar problem as the Pop-Tart and the bag of donuts would. So we really need to eat in a manner that allows to keep our blood sugar in a more even keel. And when we do eat carbohydrates or sugars, it's a small amount that's only lifting blood sugar a little bit so insulin doesn't get this huge spike and so insulin isn't high for hours and hours after we're done eating. So by eating in a way that keeps your blood sugar on a more even keel, more lower carbs or maybe even medium carb foods like sweet potatoes or butternut squash or Brussels sprouts, Something that's a real food that contains carbohydrates that your body might need if your body's needing carbohydrates, but sets you up to allow your body to burn stored fat for fuel when you're done eating. So you can wake up the next morning and you don't really need fuel because the body has the ability to access stored fat and keep you going until you do hit your eating window. The second biggest mistake I see is someone not getting enough nutrient-dense foods. So we need to remove the junk food and eat more real food so the body can get the nutrients that it needs to function the way that it wants to function. If it can't get the nutrients that it needs to function like it wants to, it's going to raise these stress hormones so these hormones can help the body complete all the functions that it needs to complete. And those stress hormones are going to tell the body to store fat and not to burn fat. So we really want to avoid the body not getting the nutrients that it needs. And this also goes hand in hand with someone trying to create a severe caloric deficit so they can lose weight. You know, back in the 80s, we were told that it was all calories in, calories out. And we know that that's not true anymore. We know that this is not the best route to help the body lose weight, because when you create this caloric deficit, you're basically telling the body, figure out your own way to get nutrients. And a lot of times the body's backup ways to get nutrients when you're not bringing in enough is going to create problems that can lead to fat storage. So you really don't want to do this. So I see a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm going to create this big window of time where I'm not eating anything. And then when I do enter my eating window, I'm going to eat this carrot. And that's all I'm going to have is this delicious carrot. But that's just not enough fuel for a human body to function. So when you're in your eating window, you really need to eat enough food for your body to function for that day. And you also need to try and get enough real nutrients. That's what the body is looking at. The body doesn't want food, it wants the nutrients in those foods. So we need to eat real food so we can give the body the nutrients that it needs. You know, one of the biggest benefits to fasting is this cell apoptosis that you hear about. Basically where cells are dying off so that they can be rebuilt with new cells. You really want that. That's a benefit. But when that happens, this waste has to be removed from the body. And we really need enough water in the system to remove that waste. Another thing is that if you're fasting correctly and you're losing body fat, well, we store a lot of toxins in our body fat. So as that fat starts to get burned, these toxins come out and need to be removed from the body. So we need enough water to wash this junk out. Otherwise, this junk is going to get reassimilated into the system. It's going to have to be filtered out all over again by the liver, and the liver's going to be like, hey, I already did this. Why am I doing this again? And then the liver's going to get overwhelmed, and a lot more of these toxins are going to get stored in fat cells, and then our fat cells expand and our pants don't fit. So we really want to make sure that we're drinking enough water when we're fasting so that we're washing out all the junk that we want to wash out. Now, if you already have really low blood pressure, you don't want to drink gallons of water at a time and wash out all the mineral that you have in the system, I'll point you to a video to understand that a little bit better. But for most people, when they're fasting, they need to at least increase the amount of water they're drinking by a little bit. The third biggest mistake I see is people fasting for too long, or maybe they're using like the OMAD approach every day. And OMAD means 1 meal a day. And this can be an effective approach if a person's body is really running optimally and they're really getting all the nutrients they need from the food that they're eating. That's really not the case for most people. A lot of people have digestive malfunctions that don't allow them to get all the nutrients out of the food that they're eating. So they really need to eat a little more food to give the body what it's looking for. So when people do these really long fasting windows, hey, I'm going to eat by next Thursday or something, they're really usually stressing the body out and creating more harm than good. You really need to have your body functioning at a high level to be able to fast for those long periods. Also, if you're only having 1 meal a day, this can be an effective approach if you do this once or twice a week and your body is functioning well enough to get away with this. But most people try to do this every day and it's just not enough fuel to come in, and you're going to result in raising those stress hormones and causing the body to create its own glucose by breaking down your tissues and even your organs. Here's the hint. You kind of need your organs. So you really want to give the body the fuel it needs so it doesn't have to shop at its own 7-Eleven and break your own tissues down to turn that into fuel. The fourth biggest mistake I see is that when people are fasting, they're not really fasting. They're having all these coffee drinks and they put these fruity tooty sweeteners and creamers and fats and all these other things in their coffee and assume that that's okay because it doesn't have very many calories. Well, the reality is that when you put anything that has nutritional value in the body, you're giving the body nutrition. You're saying, hey, here comes food. Here comes nutrients. Let's shut this fasting process down and bring the food in. So the body's like, all right, let's change how the engines are functioning because here comes nutrition. And then nothing really shows up, but the body can't just move right back into the mode that it was in when you were in that fast. So you're breaking the fast. You're breaking the benefits that come from that fast. And you'll hear from a lot of fasting experts like, oh, these sweeteners don't have any calories, they're going to be fine, or this doesn't really spike insulin. But all of these things are affecting the body and bringing nutrients into the body. So it's changing the mode that the body is in. Now, some people that are really operating well can still see results doing this, but remember, you and I are not this elite NASA equipment. We want to put everything we can in our favor. So when you're fasting, you really need to fast. That means that you can drink water and you can drink black coffee. You don't want to put anything else in it. Even people that are taking like branched chain amino acids, they're still affecting their fast. They're breaking their fast with these amino acids. The body uses insulin to process large amounts of amino acids at once. So when you're putting in these branched chain amino acids, you have the ability to spike insulin, which is going to affect your ability to burn stored fat. So when you're fasting, you really want to fast. The fifth mistake I see is people fasting when their body really isn't set up to be fasting. So they're basically working against their body. There's a wide variety of issues that can cause the body to create malfunctions or imbalances. And some of these malfunctions and imbalances can restrict your ability to see the benefits from fasting. And when you're not seeing the benefits from fasting, in a lot of these cases, fasting is actually magnifying the problem and making things worse. So you really want to make sure that these issues are not causing problems for you. So jump over right now and watch our video on 5 types of people who should not use intermittent fasting so you can see these malfunctions and imbalances so you understand that you can correct these things and then get the real benefits from fasting. I can't wait to hear about your results.